theme and we have to talk about the theme. So we talked about the mechanism of building a habit, which relies on cue, craving, response, and reward. And now we'll talk about the 4 laws of behavior change, which will enable you to hack this mechanism and use it to your benefit and your advantage. So the first one is make it obvious, right? So how do you make a cue obvious? I'll give you an example. If you want to study for an exam and you want to ace that exam, you have to make it obvious. You have to keep the books close to you, in close proximity. You can't keep the books hidden in a cupboard or in a bookshelf. You have to keep those books either next to your bedside or on a desk where it's easily available. So whenever you see the book, you have this craving or the urge to sit and study, and then your response would be to study, and then the reward would be better grades. So you have to make the cue obvious. Even Toastmaster Neeraj talked about not sitting near the kitchen, but actually sitting away from the kitchen, right? So that you don't get this urge to always go to the kitchen and look for food. You could either chill in your bedroom, or you could be in some study room or the drawing room, but away from the kitchen, which will enable you to become a healthier person. The second law is make it attractive. Say you are interested in getting good grades and you want to study more, and you're also a creative person. Say you like colors, you like using colored highlighters, colored sticky notes, and you're a creative person. You could use that to your advantage. And while studying, you could use those colored pens, colored highlighters, sticky notes, and make the process of studying more attractive to you. So whatever you like doing, you do that. I'll give you another example. If you want to lose weight and you really like eating broccoli, like broccoli is your most favorite vegetable. So you could maybe, and it is also a healthy vegetable, right? So you could incorporate more of broccoli into your diet. So it becomes attractive to you. In the process, you will be losing weight, you'll be eating the broccoli that's so attractive to you, and you'll also be losing weight. So you have to make the behavior or the habit attractive. The third point is make it easy. You don't want to set over ambitious goals which are very hard to achieve. You want to go slow and steady. Say you want to study for an exam and ace that exam. So you will not set a tall goal of studying for 10 hours at a stretch or 12 hours at a stretch. You are sure to not study for that exam then. In that case, you will set small targets. You will study for 3 days today, 3 days tomorrow, and 3 days day after. And you have to be consistent and patient about it. And then you will be closer to achieving the goal rather than setting very overambitious targets, which are very difficult to achieve. So you have to make the process easy. You want to go to the gym, you keep your gym clothes near you and don't keep them stacked in a cupboard. Once they're near you, it'll be easier for you to just wear them and immediately go to the gym rather than going through your cupboard and going through all your clothes, looking for your gym clothes. It'll just make the process more tedious and difficult to achieve. And the last law is make it immediately satisfying. Coming back to the same example, if you want to achieve, like if you want to ace an exam and you have studied for 3 hours, maybe you can make a mental note of listening to your most favorite song for 5-6 minutes after you've studied for 3 hours. So you make the process of studying, immediately satisfying or immediately gratifying, because our bodies, our brains, they function on dopamine. We always get a dopamine hit when we go on Instagram or on Facebook or any of the social media websites, right? So similarly, if you want to hack that dopamine mechanism, you can study for 3 hours or 4 hours and you can make a promise to yourself that you listen to your most favorite song after you've studied for a considerable amount of time. So you will actually get a mini reward after study. You can use this mechanism to your advantage and actually build good habits and break the bad habits. So this was building the good habit part. Now, how do you break the bad habit? You can just reverse the laws. So if you have to break a bad habit of, let's say, limiting the consumption of junk food, instead of making it obvious, you keep the junk food stacked in a cupboard. You don't keep it easily visible near you, right? Or make it unattractive. Instead of making it attractive, you make it unattractive. Maybe you can start watching all these people who have obese videos, like I don't know if you've heard of this show. There's this show in America which documents the lives of obese people. Maybe you can watch that show and you can see how unattractive that is. Like, if you don't eat right and if you don't work out, you can become like that. So, you are making the process of eating junk food unattractive and make it difficult for you. Increase the time distance between you and the cue. As Toastmaster Neeraj said, don't sit near the kitchen, but sit away from the kitchen. You want to increase the number of steps you have to take to go to the kitchen. So it will become a difficult task for you, and automatically you'll be more prone to the idea of not eating food so frequently. So you have to make it difficult. And if you want to, and the last one is make it punishing. You don't want to make it satisfying, you want to make it punishing, right? In the sense that you don't, let's say you've eaten that extra cookie or that extra packet of chips, you want to be a little more strict with yourself, or you can ask your parents or your friend to admonish you for eating that extra cookie or that chips, and to ask you to be in check about the consumption of junk food. So you can make it punishing. And James Clear always says, what is rewarded is repeated, but what is punished is avoided. So if you have the good reward of listening to your most favorite song after studying for a considerable amount of time, you are more likely to repeat that behavior rather than being scolded for eating an extra cookie by your parents or your friends. You are more likely to not repeat that behavior because you would want to avoid that scolding that they would do, right? Similarly, you can have these 4 laws to build good habits, like in the positive sense, and break the bad habits in the negative sense that we just discussed. So now let's move on to the topic of our meeting, and that is atomic habits. We have already looked into the 4 aspects, the 4 concepts that we have discussed so far, and now it's time to summarize those 4 concepts. So the first one was the 1% change. That means you need to improve by 1% every day, which will lead to an improvement of 37 times by the end of the year. Then the second one was screw goals, set systems. You need to set that environment to enable you to achieve that goal. The third one was go from identity change to outcome rather than outcome to identity change. Become the person who you wish to be rather than just obsessing over the goal and running after the outcome. The fourth one, and the most important one, was the 4 laws of behavior change. That is, make it obvious, make it easy, make it attractive, and make it immediately satisfying. So those were the 4 broad, so sorry for that, 4 broad concepts that we can take away from the book. And we should all be encouraged and inspired to use these 4 broad concepts to build good habits and break bad ones. And there was also something very nice that Toastmaster Dolly had mentioned in the chat. She was asking about Krishna, which Toastmaster Ashish had highlighted in his speech. And yes, Toastmaster Dolly, it is about listening to your Krishna. It's about listening to the good angel that sits on one of your shoulders and avoiding what the devil has to say, which sits on your other shoulder. So it's about following what your Krishna says. And the second point that you had mentioned, in Mumbai, kitchens are very close to your room. Of course, very sorry to know about that, because I know in Mumbai the houses are very compact compared to the houses in Delhi, which are more spacious. Due to the spatial constraints, they're very compact. So you can do other things, like you can maybe keep the healthy food more, make it more visible in the kitchen, and you can keep the unhealthy food stacked away in your cupboards, or you can not buy it or not purchase it, so that you increase the steps between you and the unhealthy food, rather, and reduce the steps between you and the healthy food. So that is another way by which you can hack that cue, craving, response, reward mechanism to your benefit. So as we wind up the session, I would just like to ask if anybody would want to share or talk about their experience of being inspired by this session, and if you are interested in breaking a bad habit, or even looking into building a good habit after hearing today's session. So any volunteers for that, if you'd like to share your story or your experience that you're inspired to make a change for the positive, for the better.
Yeah, and Toastmaster Shreya, it is a wonderful session indeed, and inspiring theme by you. And you have explained in such a beautiful way that it has pushed me to speak this. That I always love procrastination, keeping, as I said, keeping important things for the end. But we cannot live with procrastination when we have family. We do not teach our children to procrastinate. When I see them procrastinating something, then I tell them to be proactive. And sometimes vice versa happens, and you tell me, "Mom, you have to be proactive." No, not proactive, no. They speak like this. Yes, you are. They can judge us, and yes, I want to get rid of this procrastination, and this Atomic Habits book has really inspired me uh, to to finish things faster. Don't keep it till the end. Don't keep them pending till the end. Thank you so much. That's my take on the book.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rory. It was wonderful to hear you and your take on procrastination and how you've been inspired by the book. And we hope that you can achieve your habits, the good habits, and break the bad habits of procrastination. Anybody else who would like to talk about their experience of, if you haven't read the book, it's fine. But if after today's session, if you're inspired to make a change for the better and you would like to speak up, now is the time.
Yeah, hi, Anurag this side.
Hi, Anurag.
Yeah, I think you have summarized the whole book very nicely. Probably, I think this is one of the reason, probably most of us, make New Year resolutions. We just take it forward for a couple of months and then everything goes back to normal. So it's not just the motivation that we need to take it forward, but the steps that you have summarized, I think it will be helpful. And how to break I know old habits take time and it's very difficult to break it. And prostration and the steps, if we imbibed and we will deeply ingrained and implement in our lives, I think then we would be more successful and taking forward whatever we want to achieve in our life. So very beautifully summarized, I would say.
Thank you so much, guest Anurag. I'm glad that you've been inspired by this session. I'm truly humbled. Thank you so much. Anybody else? I think guest Khushbu wanted to say something. Yes.
Hi, Shreya.
Hi,
Beautiful
Khushbu.
narration. You beautifully narrated the entire book to us, summarized it very well for us. And yes, I would like to I missed I missed a very important topic while speaking on the 5 a.m. club, which is also linked to habits. So people who want to inculcate the habit of getting up early in the morning or doing something productive early in the morning to be successful in life, I think I missed out on something known as Brahma Muhurat. So Brahma Muhurat is a time which is 45 minutes, which is a period of 45 minutes before the sunrise. So that is the time when your body and mind is in the most, I would say, the meditative state of mind. That is the most meditative state of mind. And your body can take whatever you give it. Your body and mind can take whatever you give it at that time. So yes, that is a period where you can do meditation, you can do yoga, you can inculcate any good habit. So yes, that is why getting up early and also following whatever is important during during early in the morning is very important. So that is one thing I just wanted to speak about Brahma Muhurat. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, guest Khushbu. Fantastic. That was an excellent thing to know. And I hope we all can leverage the power of Brahma Muhurat and do the needful and improve our lives for the better. So thank you so much for that very interesting and informative piece of information. So yes, I think that is it. We would like to conclude the session, but before